Why, hello there. It's me, Jeremy, your favorite bald dude telling you about Standard and Strange, a store and a brand with simple rules. Sell clothes they themselves would wear, manufacture it ethically, and build it to last. From boots made in Oregon to loop wheel garments made in Japan, find all the best clothes for your wardrobe at Standard and Strange. StandardandStrange.com. Hey folks, it's Jeremy. You're listening to Blammo. How you doing? This is my podcast. I also have a website, by the way, but this is my podcast. It's been a good week. You know, it's been a good week. Little busy, getting cold, feeling good, wearing my big coat. Recorded some pods this week. Had a good time. By the way, if it's a little loud right now, it's because my mom is upstairs. For real. Yeah, my mom's here. My mom came over for dinner tonight, and she's upstairs. I was like, Mom, I got to record, so I don't know. See ya. But man, she's loud as hell. Love you so much, Mom. Don't know if you're listening to this, but she's just loud. I don't know. Love her though. It's one of those nice things about moving back to the suburbs. Yes, you know, as I'm sure. I doubt this is your first pod, but if you listen, I live in St. Louis now. It's weird sometimes, though, because last time I lived here, I was 18. So now I'm in my own house, and I do stuff. You know, I do stuff here, like I work and I live, but it's just weird sometimes. It's weird. It's weird having a house. I feel weird sometimes. I'm back in New York this week. Coming monthly, though. It gets wild. Coming to New York once a month. Because, you know, it's like I also live in New York again, but I don't. I don't even know what I'm doing. Whatever, I'm an idiot. Dave Hill is here this week. Big Dave Hill. Man, this guy, Dave Hill contains multitudes, folks. Some folks know him from his band Valley Forge, his comedy, him playing with Adam Pally on his tour, touring with Tenacious D. He's got it all. I actually met Dave when I did that show with Adam a few months ago. Adam introduced me to him, and he's like, "Oh, Dave." This is actually a true story. He's like, "Oh, Dave, this is my friend Jeremy. He hosts a podcast about fashion. It's pretty cool. You should check it out." And Dave looked at me and was as stoic as he could be. And he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, yeah? I'm into fashion." And I said, "Oh, cool, for real?" And he goes, "Yeah, dude, can't you see I'm wearing Trickers?" Which was true. He was wearing Trickers boots. They're sick boots. He's he's a Northampton boot guy. He was also wearing a very sick neckerchief. Which, look, let's be honest, he looks like a total G when he was in his fit and he was on stage and he was just absolutely shredding on a guitar. It was awesome. It's wild how much more I love clothes when the people that are wearing them are just like, they're just doing their thing. Like, seriously, I think sometimes, I don't know if it's confidence that I'm attracted to about people or if it's just like their fashion, probably a combination of both. But like, sometimes you get dressed for the fit pick. I know we're all out there. You're out there and you're getting dressed and you're like, man, this is going to look good when I take a picture of myself. But a lot of times, you know, people like Dave, he gets dressed to shred. He just gets dressed to shred on the guitar and make people laugh. It was great. So Dave and I chatted. He was fresh off his recent tour with Tenacious D. So Dave and I discuss his love and collection of hockey jerseys, getting fits off in neckerchiefs, shredding on the guitar, touring with Tenacious D, and his new book, The Awesome Game. All right, let's dive in. Dave, you're in Calgary right now, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing up there?
I'm at Calgary Word Fest, which is an awesome book festival. I did it for my last book, and I'm psyched to be here. It's a really cool city, and it's sort of like, you know, a colder Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense? Sort of in every way, politically, everything. It's just everything moved north.
My dad used to tour and be in a band, and he said the coldest he had ever been in his life was in Calgary.
Oh, wow.
He said he had never been colder. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't mess around up here in Canada. It gets insanely cold.
Yeah. So book. I did. Let's jump into this real quick.
Sure.
This isn't your first book.
It's my fourth book.
Yeah, but this is your first that's solely about hockey, correct?
Yes, I've touched on hockey in probably all the other books, I think, or at least a couple of the other books. But this one is yeah, kind of exploring my love of hockey. And as a guy who I'm not really into sports at all, like I grew up not, I pretended to like football, basketball and stuff, just kind of as social currency when you're a little kid, to show up at school on Monday and know what the score of the Browns game was. And then but I really only liked hockey, and my grandfather's from Canada, so that was a sport I really got into and played, as a kid and in high school and a little bit in college. And it's kind of like just revisiting my love of the sport, and also my frustration growing up as a kid in Cleveland, which was more of a hockey town now, but was less so when I was a kid. And there's only like 2 other kids who gave a shit about it in my school. So, and it was, and also like kind of using as an adult and with my publisher's money, using that as a way to have kind of adventures, hockey-based adventures. Like there's one team in the entire country of Kenya called the Kenya Ice Lions, and I went and I played with them. And
in Kenya,
yeah. It was amazing. And the way I found out about them is I'm really into hockey jerseys, I'll say this is I know you're a man of style.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that hockey jerseys I truly believe to be the lowest form of human dress.
Wait, why?
Because it's just, they're sad. They're these moo-moos, really. To wear them like just walking around. I mean, Snoop Dogg can pull it off, but not many other people can just walk down the street in a hockey jersey. But I do love them, and I'll wear them around my apartment or to the dog run. But I do feel like you can't show up for lunch or dinner, meet a friend in a hockey jersey. I think anyway, but I digress. But I was looking for like cool non-NHL jerseys on the internet one night, and there was some website had like a list like, oh, here's the 10 coolest jerseys. And one was this team, the Kenya Ice Lions. And I was like, Kenya must be some small town in Ontario that I've never heard of, And then it turned out to be the country, that the more popular Kenya. And
yeah.
So the jersey's amazing. I actually have it here with me. But I went there and it was so cool. Like I dreamt that I would get to Africa one day. But to use hockey as an excuse to go play and meet and become friends with these guys, sort of a testament to the greatness of the game, as I often say, that bonding with people on the other side of the world in an unlikely, not very hockey, not much of a hockey country, Kenya, given that there's only like about a couple dozen people that play it there.
Yeah. I mean, but it's funny to jump back the jersey thing. Hockey jerseys, I feel like, are like this like level 99 level of style and clothes, into which once you feel you've conquered, the suit and the classic menswear and all the contemporary stuff, that people kind of fall into some form of athletic where they kind of repurpose into some cooler level of style. I don't know, like that whole where people are like, well, yeah, like that's fine, you're wearing that, but I'm wearing a soccer jersey underneath my sport coat, or I'm wearing, like this is, I get it, but it is kind of Jedi stuff. Our mutual friend Adam Pally was talking about that. He went to like this store near me. He went to like check out suits, and the guy was wearing a soccer jersey under his suit, and he was like, man, I want to do that. But I'll wear not any hockey jersey, but I have worn a hockey jersey with like a cravat underneath. It's a really advanced move, and I don't even know if it's working, but it feels good. I've done it. Well, here's the thing. You wear that at shows, though, right? I mean, which makes it even more advanced, because if you bust that out and then you're laissez-faire that you get to exist in.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. Yeah, I did do it. The first time I did it was at a show, and it was really hot. It was like 80 degrees outside. And I was wearing a Quebec Nordiques jersey, defunct NHL team, the greatest jersey of all time, in my opinion, at least in terms of the NHL. And
no, I agree that the Nordiques is such a good jersey.
Yeah, it's so great. And then I had this silk scarf that I got in Paris, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. French, Canadian, and French. And the colors were the same. They were cut, and I paired that with some some sort of a version of tuxedo pants and some Trickers boots and Unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think it also helps too that you are playing guitar, which you are absurdly and incredibly good at.
Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, unrelated note: a friend of mine works with the St. Louis Blues, and I sent him your Star Spangled Banner video, and I'm like, "Yo, get this guy down here." And he was like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "You think he's available?" I'm like, "Fly his ass out."
I would do
Pay him some money.
I just want to.
Yeah.
I just want to do it. I think because I've been to so many games, and sometimes they'll have like some amazing performer come out and do the anthem, but usually I'm like, wait a minute, if they get to do the anthem, I got to be able to do the anthem. And then this year, the season's just started this week.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, man, I got to get after this. And so I'm hoping, thank you for reaching out to your friend. I'm hoping that, and if I have to start like in minor league and work my way up, I'm confident, you got
the chops.
I have the chops, and just like the players themselves, sometimes you got to do a couple, you got to play in the ECHL or the AHL or the OHL, you got to put your time in. So if I have to do that before I get to the NHL doing the anthem, fine. But that being said, I am one subway stop away from Madison Square Garden, my apartment. So come on.
This is true. Yeah. Rangers should definitely be hitting you up.
Yeah. And it's not, I don't know. Like, I feel like it has to happen.
Yeah. I think we're putting it out there in the universe. We're going to put it out there.
Yeah. I mean, I put it out there subtly. And then I'm hoping that, eventually but I would like it to happen this season.
I think it's going to happen this season more than once, because I do think that specifically hockey is this sport that, in a weird way, at least for someone like me, the nostalgia element is really, really strong. And that's not just because I grew up in the Midwest, but like I still really love, I'm just going to sound dorky here, like the Mighty Ducks, and, getting into just that, I don't know, like everyone kind of wants to be like, the team that's run by Emilio Estevez and all that stuff. But in a weird way, from hockey stuff to then video games, it was also like a sport that, and it was never too big. So if you liked hockey, you were a little bit punk rock. If you like football, you're kind of a jock. But if you like hockey, you're like, there's something cool about you. Yeah.
It is kind of, I totally agree. And I think that's kind of like, what I grew up like, completely not a jock in any way. And it was still like a big part of my life growing up. And even, when I was playing on like the high school team, like I was this weird kid. Like I didn't really fit in with any of the players.
Well, what position were you playing?
I played left wing pretty much.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I shoot lefty. I'm righty in most things, but some things I do lefty, and that's one of them. But yeah, it is one of those things where it's kind of. Well,
I think also like for at least someone like me, my kind of like golden age of hockey, in which I felt like hockey was the most popular. And I mean, I don't know, I'm almost 40, was like in the 90s, especially because I grew up in St. Louis. We had Brett Hall. We had Wayne Gretzky for like a season. I don't know if you remember that. Gretzky played for the Blues.
Yeah. I remember this sort of weird thing where you had Gretzky very briefly.
Yeah. But there was just this time of like joy. I mean, and we were next to Chicago, so anyone who is a fan of like Chelios and the Blackhawks, there was just like, such a cool time in sports for that. And hockey was super popular in St. Louis. Mostly it was like a rich kid sport because the gear cost so much. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing about it. That's sort of a thing like, I try to like figure out why hockey isn't more popular in the United States. And it's, it ends up being, I think, the obvious reasons of it's expensive. And a lot of our country isn't cold enough to really, St. Louis, I was just talking with someone about this, I know Gretzky moved he lives in St. Louis now.
What?
Yeah, he moved there because his wife's mom lives there, and they bought a house there, and I think she lives with them. And then Brett Hull lives there, and then can't remember who was telling me this, but like they meet up at this bar, and it'll come to me later. But my friend's friend is like a waitress at this bar where the two of them come in and hang out and drink and eat and stuff. And said that and they really like her because she's the one person that only has a vague sense of who they are. So she just treats them like a couple guys ordering beers. So
that's nuts. You can exist in levels of, I don't think St. Louis people really freak out over folks. And when they do, even like someone like Ozzie Smith, who was a Cardinal Hall of Famer, one of the greatest Cardinals ever. And people don't really care. In a good way. Like they know who he is, they respect him, but there's not, I don't know, Midwest, it might just be a Midwest thing, because I'm sure someone else is going to be like, yeah, I'm from Davenport and I don't care about, whoever. But I think there's a good, healthy respect. And I think, what's his face? Gosh, is so from the Cardinals, who was also amazing. Like he just kind of exists and hangs out. No one seems to mind. But there's not, I don't think there's big ego sports here. Like when I think ego sports, I associate that with the NFL and basketball. Yeah. I don't know. Do you think that is hockey a little bit less ego, or is that?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think so for sure. I mean, all you have to do is like watch a hockey interview, and I'm guessing there has to be like some coaching that goes on, like media coaching, because all their interviews they're the worst interviews. Whenever they're just like, yeah, we're just trying to go out there and put pucks in the net, get some shots on goal and pucks in the net, and like, teams were just working together. Just, all right, thanks a lot, and they just kind of slink off. They never say anything beyond just like very basic. They don't have an opinion about anything. They don't stick their neck out. It's just like, it's pretty amazing. I actually Googled about it because I was like, how are these interviews so bad always? And someone said like, oh, they don't want to say anything they're going to get made fun of for later, I guess. And they just give these really mild interviews always. Like the
irony of it all is a poor interview, or an interview that has no substance, becomes something to make fun of.
Yeah. But it's like the whole, I mean, Sean Avery, who played for the Rangers, he was like one of the few players who, was kind of flamboyant in any way. And I think it shortened his career because he was, talked a lot of shit.
I mean, who do you think are the hockey players now that people are talking about or are going to talk about? Because I feel like it's very team centered. I don't know. I'm really trying to think, and I keep up with hockey.
I mean, there's Sidney Crosby, there's Connor McDavid at Edmonton, Nathan McKinnon, Colorado. The Rangers. I mean, the Rangers, I'm biased. I always like Mika Zibanejad from Sweden. And he's a musician also. So I'm always, if I were to buy a jersey with someone's name on it, which as a whole subject, even as a kid, I was like, I don't want some guy's name on my back. Like it always struck me as like weird. I was like, what? I'm not going to put my name because I'm not on the team, but I don't want some other dude's name on my back. Though, and the one time I did it is this player I was in, I didn't talk about this in the book, but this player, I was in Poland. I saw this team and I hung out with some of the players. And so I was like, I'm going to order a jersey from this team and get this guy's name on it. And so I was waiting. And then I get a message from whoever, the shop that I ordered the jersey from, and it was like their official fan jersey thing. They're like, hey, do you still want this jersey? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? And they were like, well, and I guess the guy, he was Estonian and he had a Russian passport, and the Polish Hockey League, their equivalent of NHL, they wanted everyone, especially Russian players, to denounce the invasion of Ukraine.
Oh,
and
yeah,
most of them did, but some of them didn't. And this guy gave kind of like a very wishy-washy answer. And on the face of it, you go like, well, fuck that. Of course you should, because yes, you should denounce that. But when you go like, oh, this is a kid whose family could be murdered because he denounced the war, then you go like, oh, well, maybe he was afraid.
Yeah.
So,
well, wait, so did you get the jersey?
I did. Well, yeah, because they were like, do you want to? And I was like, well, can you just change the name, or take it off. They're like, no, it's like silks. It's on there already. And then I couldn't tell whether they thought that I should change it or they just wanted me to take the jersey. I didn't know where they stood, like what they were wanting me to say. But I just said, I live in New York and I'll wear the jersey around my apartment or to the dog run, and no one is going to know what it is or who this guy is. It's not an issue over here. So I'm like, I don't want you to have to because they were like, yeah, we're going to have to make a whole new jersey. Yeah. So I'm like, that's stupid to waste the jersey just for something that no one is going to know. So I do have it.
Are you still buying jerseys now?
I do, yeah.
Like, what's your jersey collection?
I pumped the brakes on it a little just because I have probably about 50 of them. And there's a lot more that I want, but my clothes and guitars are my two, if I can include jerseys in clothes, which I do and I don't. But that and guitars are my two areas of the only two things I really buy. And I have way too many of both of them.
You can't have too many guitars. There's no way. How many guitars do you have?
I was trying to count this morning because I was just thinking about it because like my girlfriend is really not psyched. Like, because I keep, and this is, I mean, my inner like 15-year-old is so psyched. But in like recent, year or two, people give them to me a lot more. And so,
okay.
Which is amazingly kind and generous. Sometimes it'll be a friend or it'll be the company. But, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll take that guitar. Like, I love guitars. Like, for me, they're interactive works of art. So there's no guitar I don't want. I might not keep one around over time, but I'm always psyched to have one come in the house. But my girlfriend is like the other day, my buddy Marzi Montazeri sent me, and he used to play with Phil Anselmo in his solo band. He was an exhorter for a while, and he has like a signature model of a solar. It's kind of like based on a Gibson Explorer. It's like a badass like metal guitar that someone is. And he sent me one of his guitars, and which was so nice. But like it showed up, and I tried to bring it in the house without my girlfriend noticing, but she was on the phone. Like I took it out.
It's not like
box.
A scarf you can put in your pocket. They're a little big.
She always sees it happen. Like, but I try to bring them in. Like I unbox them in the hallway, take the box outside,
right,
and then I kind of just try to bring it in while she's on the phone or something. But she totally busted me, and she just kind of rolled her eyes, like, "Oh God!" But to her credit, like I did have it hanging on the wall, and she was like, "I saw that new guitar; it's pretty cool." So she does appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, when they're also gifts to you, because I have a good friend, but he has epic guitars. Like he's a guy, he loves to collect, and his MO is guitars. So he has most of the guitars that he has are all custom made for him by people that don't even really make guitars for people anymore. He has a Wolf coming. Jerry Garcia's, guitar maker guy.
Oh, yeah.
He has one of those. He has a Stevenson. He's got, I think they're Stevenson, but there's like this guy in Texas who makes guitars for all these people.
Yeah.
And, just all of these things that are crazy. And I'm like, well, and he plays them. He definitely plays them, but he goes to, I think there's a place in Long Island that basically sells the heavy hitter guitars, the $500,000 57 Les Pauls and stuff. And, he's got like an Audio Kitchen head and a special Audio Kitchen reverb unit, all these handmade pedals, all this crazy stuff. And he just keeps collecting, and I think it was interesting because as he was showing them to us, he was a little bit reticent. We were just like, this is dumb. I don't even know if I need it. And I'm like, it's cool. Like these are your baseball cards. Like I collect watches. I collect dumb stuff too. Like, yeah, but it means something to you. And I think like, that's really all that matters. The space issue is irrelevant at the moment, but it's just like, if you care about it and these are personalized things made for you, then like in essence, they're priceless because it's not like you're buying them because you're hedging your bets against some sort of market or you want to flip them or anything, it's just for the love of the game. Right? I mean, he's got one of those like electric sitar guitars that was made by someone, and he's got, and it's funny because I hit him up and I'm like, yeah, dude, I want to get I'd like to get a new guitar. And he's like, well, why don't you try this one? And I'm like, that's $35,000. Like, I don't know if I'm into that, you know. And he's like, oh, just buy the Ed O'Brien Strat, you know, or whatever it was, the Fender. He's like, if you just want to go play and you want a weird guitar, he's like, go get the Radiohead one. And I was like, really? So, but I don't know. I mean, because I used to play in a band for a long time. That's how we met. I got to play your P90 Les Paul.
Oh yeah.
What is it? The soap bars?
Oh yeah. That's an amazing guitar. I mean, it's everyone that plays it the best, or one of the best Les Pauls I've ever played. It's like, but the thing is, like, I have that, and like when I think about it, I'm like, oh, I don't need any other guitars. But then I'm like, wait, I got this one over here. Like I have probably 10 guitars that I'm like, this is the best guitar on earth.
That's what do you got?
I mean, I just got this insane guitar that I've been using for the last couple months. The guitar I used every night on the Tenacious D tour. This Illuminati guitars, aluminum, like ALU. Illuminati. They're based in Asheville, North Carolina, and they were kind enough to send me it's an aluminum neck, lucite body, and the shape of the body is based on the Orion constellation or Orion space thing, and it lights up. It's an amazing guitar. It has Lawler pickups in it, Lawler Imperials. Not to go down too much of a gear wormhole, but
go for it.
And it plays amazingly. It sounds great. And then the amazing thing is they have this like state of the art crazy guitar, and then they put these lights in it. So there's a little switch on it that, you know, when you see the guitar, you're like, oh, that must be like coil tap or out of phase. But then you do it and the whole guitar lights up, and it's fucking amazing. And I have it right here actually. And it's just, I love that they made this beautiful instrument that looks, sounds, and plays so great. And then they're like, let's have it do something really stupid also, which I think is just a real master stroke. So that guitar is, and it's just so much fun to play. So that would be the one lately that I've been really obsessed with. But I mean, you know, I have a lot of Gibsons that every time I'm like, wait, this thing's the greatest, you know? I mean, the thing, you know, there's some amazing small builders like Illuminati, boutique companies, but then, you know, obviously the Gibson and Fender, you know, have issues over the years with quality control because they're these big companies, and, you know, depending on who's in charge of the company. But, you know, you do have decades of know-how and experience of all these amazing builders. So, I mean, obviously Gibson and Fender have made some incredible instruments. And I do like Fenders, but I have some Tele, like, you know, boutique Teles. I have a couple from Carmine Kelly Guitars, the Carmine Street Guitars. You know?
Yeah.
And then I have my Tele from Rust Guitars, which is Matt Brewster at 30th Street Guitars in Manhattan. It's one of those guitars where you're like, when you play it, you're like, oh, I don't need any other guitar. But then I have 10 others that I'm like, oh, this is, you know, they all have, you know, have a Dunnable Asteroid, which is kind of their take on the Flying V. And that's a total beast. Sasha Dunnable built me this, built it to my specs, and it's like a frost blue, and it's the only, you know, Flying V style guitar I've ever played that is just like balanced perfectly, sounds great, resonant, and you can play any kind of music on it. Like you could play, you know, the Smiths on it if you wanted, and then you could play, you know, Metallica, and it would be great for both. So, and which is, you know, not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. Attention! Do you even loop wheel, bro? Do you know what loop wheel garments are? Look, I actually didn't, honestly. I was just like, oh, it's a flex, or it's this special kind of cotton. But no. The folks at Standard & Strange dropped a ton of incredible knowledge bombs and their incredible loop wheel tee, made in Japan, of course. Back to loop wheel. It's an antique circular knitting machine that relies on gravity and uses spring-bearded needles. What the heck? Do you even get it? Look, all you need to know is it's dope. It's better if you want to learn more. Visit standardandstrange.com/loop wheel and check out their new loop wheel tees. Your boy is partial to yellow because, you know, duh. But the tees are fire no matter what color. The fit is spot on, and it's a classic tee that looks like it's from every era, to be honest with you, and fits like a dream. And it's from the folks at Standard & Strange, the shop that helps you own fewer, better things, run by industry vets who are focused on incredible product from incredible vendors. And look, if that's not your vibe, check out some of their huge offerings of Japanese denim or boots. But listen, the shirts, fam, the shirts. So, if you want to know more, visit standardandstrange.com. Loop wheel, baby. That's standardandstrange.com. Do you think there are any guitars that, like, you know, came out maybe a long time ago and they were supposed to be like the one guitar and it was going to do everything, and now they're kind of like laughed at? Like, I always think of like Parker guitars. You remember those? It was like carbon fiber.
Yeah, the Parker Fly.
Yeah, the Parker Fly. That was like the guitar that was supposed to solve the whole world. And then everyone kind of clowned on it.
It's supposed to be awesome, but I think, they just didn't look sexy enough to catch on. And I mean, that's really, you could talk all day about how stuff sounds and how it plays, but like, if you don't look cool wearing it, then nothing else, it's over, like, it's like, you can't be like, well, I don't look cool with this, but it sure plays and sounds great. No, sorry. Like, you gotta look good. As I like went nuts going through all these, I basically fell into this Beatles rabbit hole, I don't know, like about a year ago, and just went nuts through every biography and through every, and the OCD person in me was like, well, I wonder how they got all these tones. And it's like, oh, like they were getting, like Lennon had this casino, and then they would sand the finish down, but they would have to tape up the F holes because you'd get crazy feedback. So anytime they were trying to like overdrive the guitar, you really had to kind of I don't know, like manipulate it in ways that were not natural to the instrument. And then, I was like, well, what did George Harrison have? And then I was like, well, how did he get that tone? Like, did you ever find yourself going down those types of rabbit holes, like trying to emulate a tone from a specific artist? Or have you always just been like, I'll just make my own? Yeah, no, not to, like, I think obviously if you can do it, I think I just never had the patience to do it. But when it's done, when people accomplish that, it's badass. Like, I was just at my friend Mike Hickey's house, and Mike is an amazing guitar player and an amazing guy in general. But I met him. He was a guitar player for Venom. Do you know Venom? The Newcastle, the sort of first wave of black metal. But then and he's in Carcass for a while, but he was Joe Bonamassa's guitar tech for years. So there's his short, just a sliver of his resume. But I was at his house a couple months ago, and he's recreated Eddie Van Halen's rig in his house, like the kind of sort of what he was doing, for the last 30 years or whatever, from the Hagar era on. And you're just in his house. His mom's downstairs trying to watch a movie, and he's cranking 3 half stacks. He has 3 cabinets, and he's got like all this shit going on. And you play it and you're like, oh, that sounds exactly like Eddie Van Halen's guitar rig in from about 1982 on or whatever.
Damn. No, I always got I was never able to like nail any sound because usually it requires gear beyond anything I could afford. But seeing, I've gotten to like a YouTube rabbit hole just watching, like, here is, Jimmy Page's sound. And it's like, here's A, B, C, D, and E, here's this. And it's funny because you had mentioned, you were on the Tenacious D tour doing stuff with them. Jack Black apparently has been able to get, to reproduce some of Jimmy Page's sounds through different stuff. I mean,
wow.
I don't know what his rigs were, but supposedly, because he's such a huge Zeppelin fan.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if he might even have some of Jimmy Page's stuff.
I gotta talk to him about that.
I don't know. Yeah, you should.
I will. It's that endless, the Jimmy Page stuff, and it's weird, for how long I've been playing guitar, it's really only in the last couple years that like a buddy of mine taught me to like turn the tone knob off, like turn it all the way down, and then you get like this insane tone. I think like another friend was saying it's called Clapton called it the woman tone when he was like in Cream or sort of pre awful solo Eric Clapton years.
Yeah.
Not to take, I don't know. I don't mind veering off the road to hit Eric Clapton, but
you can knock him right off the road. Many
yeah,
people are now. You're
he's
fine.
one of the people I don't mind taking shots at him because he deserves it.
Go for it. Yeah.
But he obviously done some great things also. But yeah, I just learned this like fairly recently to just roll the tone all the way off, and then you have this. And now I do that all the time, like when I'm recording or even live, I'll do it.
Well, I mean, playing your rig, even though it wasn't like that crazy of a setup, like when we played Pally's show, it is interesting how much better you feel playing a good rig, and this is no shots at Pally or anything. Like he has some great guitars too.
Oh,
but
yeah,
when
totally.
I was like playing your guitar and your setup and you're like, oh, like I feel kind of invincible. I mean, the tone was incredible. And it wasn't like, oh, they just ran me through a better channel on their board out there. Like, no, like, I mean, that Les Paul, I think you had like was it a Blues Junior or like a Blues Deluxe or something you had? A little
I don't
Fender
even know. Probably like this is the thing, like sort of out of laziness and also not having the luxury of like having a dedicated amp everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much will use any amp and I run them clean. And then everything I do is off my pedals just because like if I get in a situation like, well, there's a Vox AC30 or some amp that I really love, I'll sit and tinker with it. But normally like I'll just put everything as flat as it can go. And then everything is just off whatever pedals I'm using. And I kind of swapped it. It's weird, like being, in comedy and music, I have like comedy pedal boards and then I have like full music pedal boards. So like for playing with Adam, I would have been straight up music because I'm, trying to just serve his songs as best I can. But when I'm doing like my own comedy show, I'll have like some stupid pedals, not stupid, but pedals that do stupid. There's no such thing as a stupid pedal, but there is a pedal that does stupid things that are funny.
I do have an envelope filter somewhere that I don't know why I ever bought it. So yeah.
Oh, you gotta have one. You gotta have one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wait. So what are the differences? You said is it just like things to do loops with, or is it ring modulars?
Oh well. There's like pedals, like my favorite flanger is the
flanger.
Paul Gilbert Airplane Flanger by Ibanez. And it has the flanger part is amazing. It's like this throatiest, just badass space, rocket flying saucer shit. But then there's this other button on it that does this loop that you can change the speed of that overrides your whole rig really. And it just goes like boo. It does like and you hit it and it just is funny to me. So I have that. That's a good comedy pedal to have that. And then I have a lot of Earthquaker Devices pedals, which are great pedals. And they make some pedals that are amazing, but then they have this one called Rainbow Machine that makes all these crazy sounds. And then there's one called Data Corruptor, which is completely, you can make it sound like a crazy phasey octave thing, or you can make it sound like the building is exploding. It's kind of, so on the Tenacious D tour, I got out there and I didn't just to keep things simple. I didn't have as many pedals and I got out, we're playing these places like 10,000 people a lot of nights. And I was like, man, I should have brought some crazier pedals. And I'd wish I brought the Data Corruptor, but then I ended up I forgot it and I didn't want to buy another one and have two of them. So I bought this, we were in Nashville and I went to the Third Man Record store.
Oh, yeah.
And they have these like cool collaborative pedals. They did one with Mantic Flex, this pedal. And so I have that, and it's similar to the Data Corruptor. But yeah, it makes stuff. I like to just when something sounds crazy. I was reading about someone who's called like a what the fuck is that pedal? It's good to have that in comedy.
Yeah, I remember people were really into the whammy pedal. This is like maybe the 90. Was it Digitech? I think it was Digitech.
Yeah, Digitech whammy pedal, and yeah, the biggest users would be Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. That was like the Rage
that's
sound.
all over all those records. And then Dimebag Darrell from Pantera would be the other, to my mind, those two guys they're the two Digitech whammy pedal guys.
Yeah. But it's funny because you mentioned the comedy stuff. I still think, I don't know of any other comedian ever, honestly, anybody who is as talented and as proficient you
thank
are
you.
on the guitar, as well as being as quick verbally with the comedy, because you're playing stuff that's extremely difficult and technical, and then like mindlessly disconnecting from that and like doing, your comedy. And it's I think like, yeah, it's really, 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 really good. And I really don't know anyone else who does that, because there are people who bring a guitar out or an instrument out when they play, but most of them are not at the level you're at. And I think it's also because you've had and continue to have a career as just a musician, separate from the comedy stuff. It blends together at times, but it's from your bands to even your John Oliver stuff. That's like out there.
Yeah,
right?
That's my band Valley Lodge. Well, thank you. But yeah, there are some. Brendan Small is an amazing player. And he does both. And there's Mrs. Smith, who I haven't seen doing stuff in the last year or so, but she's an amazing player and really funny. And Adam Newman. Those are three great players offhand. I'm probably forgetting, but it's really fun. I like to do both. It's also like just on a lazy level. It's just nice to leave the house once and be like, oh, I left the house, told some jokes, hopefully got some laughs, and I ripped some solos. Got to, it's kind of like just doing all the stuff that I like to do. And then, rather than be like, oh, I'm going to do stand up over here, I'm going to drag my band out over here. It's nice to just go out once. That's why I love playing with Adam Pally so much, is because it's like I usually will do my own set and then I'll play with him, and I love I love just playing the guitar and have someone else do the heavy lifting of talking and singing, and it's nice to just kind of focus on playing. So that's a really fun night for me to do that with him, when I can just kind of do it all.
Where did the badass person come from? Because I think a lot of your comedy and then in your characters and stuff online are just like overtly masculine, fuck you, sort of like badass guys. And it's funny because I remember like I was familiar with your stuff, and then when I met you, I was like, oh man, he's such a sweetheart. Like,
thank you.
Okay. Because I was like, is Dave going to like clown on me the second I talk to him? I was like, oh man, okay, here we go. Then you're like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh, shoosh. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like, it wasn't anything like conscious that I did consciously. It just kind of came about. It's probably just because in real life I'm just kind of a quiet Midwestern guy, and so
Do you correct someone if they get your coffee wrong?
No. I mean, I had breakfast yesterday in New York, or the other day in New York, and they brought me the wrong order, and I didn't even say anything. I was just like, okay, I'll eat this. Just because I thought about it, and I was what? I don't know, like, they're really going to throw this food out? Like, it just seemed wasteful, and like, maybe it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was fine. Like, and it was like literally, they just made my egg. Like, I had asked for over easy, and they brought me scrambled. And I don't really like scrambled eggs, but I was like, I'm not going to make them start over. It got through it. These are luxury problems. I was lucky enough to be having breakfast in a. Oh
man, see there's the Midwest guy. There it is. Where did that come from? Because I think that's a thing. I wrestle with that too. Like there's gosh darn it, I'm just glad to be here. To where like, no, they fucked up your order.
Yeah, I'm kind of, so this is the kind of stuff I talk about in therapy, like, because I'm really like, not to keep bringing up the Tenacious D tour, but like,
go for it.
They asked me what my rider was, and I asked for, some things, nothing too crazy, just some snacks and some beer and wine and stuff, and though as soon as I got on the tour, like I realized like, oh, this is like a big tour in these huge venues, there's full catering for every meal, all like and then after I talked to my agent like a couple days into the tour, and I was like, I feel this is wasteful, like I have all this food and I'm not eating all. My buddy Niels that was on the tour with me, we'd usually take the cheese plate with us every night and kind of have this cheese plate in this sweaty cheese plate in the car. And but I was like, oh man, I kind of feel like I shouldn't have all this food because it's wasteful. And he was like,
no man, it's fine.
It's okay. Yeah, he was like, well, sometimes you're going to have friends coming to the shows. They might want a snack. So I was like, okay. But I did feel bad about it.
Well, think of it this way. because a friend of mine's in a really big band, and he wrestles with this stuff too. And the response, so I take no credit for this, the response from his friend was like, well, look, it's your job to be as comfortable and as at ease as possible so you can go entertain thousands and tens of thousands of people. So what is it that you need? So in a way, therefore, it's not wasteful. If you eat it or not, but just knowing that it's there, you need an extra water, even though you might take it and leave it by the bathroom. But you need that water. It's not wasteful. Yeah. You gotta have your head on, you're good.
This is true. And, I for the longest time in show business, when anyone would ask me like what I wanted in my green room or whatever, I would always just be so like, just some water and, very vague, like some, I don't know, a bag of peanuts. And then I was doing this, I can't remember what it was. And then someone was finally like, I realize you're just trying to like not ask for anything, but like we're sending like a 22-year-old out to get this stuff and you're being so vague. You're just making it hard on this kid. Like just say exactly what you want so he can go to the store and buy it. So then you go like, okay, I want this, you'd say the brand of beer that you like or whatever. And then another time I was doing a show and I did the same. They're like, what do you want backstage? And I was like, I don't know, some beer, red wine, snacks. And they kept like, what kind do you want? And I was hemming and hawing, and then I did the show, and it was like me and there's some famous comedians on the show, and one of them asked for these 2 bottles of champagne, and then at the end of the night they grabbed the champagne. The cars came to take us back to the city, and he just grabbed the champagne, and I was like, oh, and he's like. And he's like, yeah, like this way I just have it all the time at home. And he was the nicest guy. And like,
that's a Sammy Hagar move.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, Sammy Hagar kind of stuff. And I was like, and it wasn't bad. Like no one thought it was, the people that had gotten the champagne, they didn't think anything of it. And I was like, oh, this is really smart. Like he's just stocking up on this champagne for his house.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's brilliant. And anyway, I don't know if I'll ever be that confident, but I really respected it.
Yeah. I mean, Hagar's thing, he would get red wine and he would get like absurdly good wine and he wouldn't even drink it and would just send it to his house.
Yeah. It's a smart thing. That's, I've heard that, like a buddy of mine was roadie for Danzig.
Wow.
A long time ago during the like classic lineup. And he said, and I think I'm getting this right, and I apologize to anyone if I'm not, but Eerie Vaughn, the bass player, he would ask for a bottle of Maker's Mark or something like that every night, and he would get it, and then he would just fill a road case with unopened bottles of Maker's Mark, and then when he got home, he had like a year's supply of Maker's Mark.
Yeah, I mean, Brilliant. It works.
Yeah, and it's like, what, $25 or whatever that costs? And like, when you're playing to thousands of people, the promoters doesn't care.
Yeah, so this is why you have 200 pounds of cheese at your house now, right?
Exactly. We had quite a bit of cheese.
You're like, damn it, I just brought this from the other night.
We literally I had my buddy Neil's, I kind of had a strict 24-hour rule on the cheese. Like any cheese that hadn't been finished, but by the time we got the next cheese plate, that cheese is done. But Neil's was, he was very like, he's Canadian, so he would like hang on to cheese. He had like a very old cheese that he was still working through in the car.
Oh, Obadiah. I mean, I'm sure, like the Tenacious D crew, because they were out with like a pretty big touring group. And then I'm sure, Jack's rider's got to be nuts. Not that he's some sort of, difficult person, but just like you kind of, there's a level you're used to.
He could easily be the nicest person I've ever met in my life.
Really?
I'll go on record as saying that. And everyone, the whole band and crew were so amazingly nice and welcoming. But he's an amazing sweetheart. I mean, so is Kyle, so is everybody. But he's you just think for someone who's like a huge movie star,
right?
We've all heard stories of big stars who were not always delightful.
Yeah.
But he's an absolutely delightful, kind human being. Like inspiringly nice, where you see how nice he is and you think, I need to work on myself.
Oh.
And bring that light light into the
Can you
world.
give me an example?
Isn't it just amazing? Like just seeing him walk around and be kind and engaging with every person.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just a way to be, no matter who you are, but to see, someone on that level, be that way is really inspiring. I think
it's, Paul McCartney supposedly does this for people that are on tour with him whenever there's like a birthday or a road cruise, whatever. He like really makes an attempt to try to make that person's day, because he's like, well, look, like you could be at home, or you could be someplace you'd rather be, right, with your friends and family. And here you're, getting me queued up for Let It Be for the 10,000th time, right? And it's just But yeah, there's like an attitude.
I've heard that about Paul McCartney
on the tour that you're doing right now, because you're doing a book tour, but you're also doing some comedy dates. No,
I'm right now. Yeah, bit of both.
Do you have kind of the sort of the comedy uniform? Because every time I've seen you play or whatever, you always have the cool neckerchief. You got the cool. It's a really, really nice, like this kind of shorter cut, double-breasted shirt jacket and the like cravat style thing. Do you do that, or is like because of this one you're just bringing all hockey jerseys?
No, I mean, I don't. I tend to not wear the hockey jerseys that often. Though I did wear them. I did some TV interviews with hockey jerseys on, but it's funny when packing for this trip, I asked my publisher, I said, should I pack hockey jerseys or dress like a gentleman? And they said, dress like a gentleman. So I have just kind of like what I would wear to dinner or something. But no, for me, it kind of evolves. And, for a long time I wore suits, but then like they were kind of getting trashed.
It's hard.
You fall down on your knees. Or, if you're messing around and I ruined a lot of suits that way to where I couldn't, I just wouldn't want to walk around with a suit that had like a black stain on the knee, and then so I stopped doing that. And then I started, like wearing more like different jackets, and I used to wear more ties, and I got the scarves I just like a lot. But I've kind of, my new thing is jumpsuits, a jumpsuit with the scarf. I'm kind of getting more into that, which is like in a way getting away from, I think, dressing up, committing to it a bit more in a way.
Yeah, a jumpsuit's a great tour uniform. I mean, because
I got those, and there's scarves, and then I've been wearing. I have a ton of shoes, but I got this pair of Trickers boots a little while ago that are just so good. I kind of just wear them all the time, almost like pure, like always, all day, every day.
Were those the ones you had when we played together?
I think I probably did. Yeah, like a black. They're called. I can't remember what. But it's like a brogue country boot sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And they have like the commando or whatever sole. So it's really good for jump
pedals.
You can really jump around and good for pedals. So I'm really into those. And sort of a bonus is not that I make a habit of it, but if you're in a rush and you grab a pair of mismatched socks out of your laundry bag or whatever, you can just you're like, no one's going to see my socks. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. No big deal at all.
Yeah. So I do like that.
You said you talked about this in the book, but like what are some of your Hall of Fame hockey jerseys here?
Well, Quebec Nordiques, I would say, is all-time greatest NHL jersey. And then the Kenya Ice Lions is an amazing jersey. And then Sudbury Wolves of the Ontario Hockey League, Canadian Junior, their jersey is a wolf, as you might guess, but it looks like it was drawn by a child. And it kind of looks like, not a child, but it looks like a kid did it in the back of like class. It's got blood flying off. It's got blood on the teeth. And like, it's just... Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just looked this up. That's kind of gnarly. Yeah, it's like no NHL team would ever have a logo that gnarly. It's totally badass. And yeah, there's blood. There's blood on his teeth and off of. Holy hell! Yeah, it's amazing. And look, the NHL, they don't really have stuff. They don't push it that hard because I think they're they want to sell it to like someone's aunt, and so. But them, and then there's the Tampere Ilves in Finland. Tampere is like an hour and a half north of Helsinki, and that's a jersey I saw. And similarly, it's a Lynx. Ilves I'm saying that right, is Finnish for lynx, and it's a lynx, and it also looks like it was drawn by a younger kid than that drew the Wolves logo, but a kid like in the Middle Ages. It's like weirdly looks very old, and it's crazy looking. Like it's crazy that like a top, their version of the NHL team would have this kind of crazy looking animal, but it's such a beautiful jersey, and like their colors are like green, gold, and black. And I tried to buy that jersey online, but the shipping from Finland was like $75 for whatever reason.
Oh yeah.
So I was like,
buying anything from the EU, it's always nuts. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not paying that. So I was just like, I'm just going to go. I'll go there.
I'll just buy a flight. That's cheaper.
So I did. I mean, it was part of the book, but I went.
Yeah.
I went to Finland, and then the Finnish league, the Liga, as it's called, all the players look like NASCAR drivers. They're just like covered in ads. So when you get like the player level jersey, like authentic, it's covered in ads everywhere. And
I kind of mourn that. I really miss when it was just a logo.
Yeah, so I was like, well, I kind of want the really authentic jersey, but then they have one with no ads. And then my buddy Dan Dratch came with me, he was with me, and I was like, should I get the jersey with the ad? It was like $100 more. And he's like, you're going to pay $100 more to have stupid ads all over you? But I'm like, well, I want to look like the players. But he's like, that's stupid. So fortunately, he talked me down, and I did get the jersey with no ads.
I was ahead of this. I was trying to make a list of like some of my favorite jerseys and also some of the worst jerseys, but most of these are all like 90s era. But the San Jose Sharks, when the shark was biting the hockey stick in half.
Yeah.
That was a banging jersey. Tampa Bay Lightning, because it had fucking lightning on it.
That's a good
sick.
one, though. Though I have to say, like, it is, I wish it had more color, just kind of more hint of violence and destruction.
Well, I'm trying to... Because the one that I had, it was the black one, and it just, it had Tampa Bay. Yeah, because this was like a 90s one.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I don't think they have that one anymore. They don't do a black. I don't think.
No.
They do
I looked at the current one beforehand, and I was like, this is garbage. Yeah, now it's like a clean cut looking clip art piece of shit. Thank you.
That's exactly, I rip on that jersey so hard in my books. I'm glad. That's exactly what I say. It looks like clip art to me.
It's so bad.
And it's that's my gripe with the NHL. It's like Vegas Golden Knights. Like, you could have a badass knight who's like pissed off and got like a mace or something. Yeah. And instead they have this like thing that looks like a logo for like a car alarm company or something. Just like so disappointing.
The worst jersey, though, in my opinion, of all time, and someone's going to be really pissed off at me when I say this, is the 90s St. Louis Blues jerseys with the ketchup and mustard stripes, the red and the yellow. And then you had the blues thing, but on your shoulder, this was the other thing, is it was like a trumpet on each shoulder, and it said St. Louis Blues. But they brought back that vintage jersey in like I think it was like the 2020 season. But it was like at that time, I remember when I had that, it was the same color scheme as the Carolina Panthers, which was a badass jersey too, because that was like a red and a blue, But the blues one at that time was so bad. Like, I really detest it. Someone might think it's cute or whatever, but like, so bad. I don't know.
Yeah. NHL jerseys, it's a tough one. I think most of them are lacking. I mean, Seattle Kraken.
What the hell is that?
Missed It's just like the same thing. They're like, it's hinting at some sort of beast.
Yeah.
But just do it. Have the beast. I want a beast on my jersey.
I'm trying to think, what was the Minnesota one that was all green? It was the North Stars.
Oh, the North Stars?
Yeah, that was a sick one. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, there is, it's interesting because I do think that there's such a market for vintage jerseys and stuff. And I was like, when I was thinking about this more, I was like, oh my God, like there's going to be a ton of stuff. I mean, and plus I think like, I don't know, do you have any like framed jerseys on your wall? Are you that guy?
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, if I had a house and like some corner of the house that only I went to, maybe
I think you're describing a man cave.
Yeah, I've refused to. Maybe I would then, but I don't know. Like I know people that collect like game worn jerseys and
Yeah,
signed
that's
jerseys
cool.
and stuff. I'm not as much into that. Like, cause I want a jersey that I don't have to like, I want to go like play with my dog in it. I don't want to
Yeah, you don't want
pamper or
heirloom.
be careful.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if I had like a Rocket Richard Canadians jersey, like, yeah, I've absolutely framed that. But I mostly just want to wear them around,
Yeah.
And I like the old like 70s like fan jerseys that are like that weird shiny material. I don't even know what it's called.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Like it's sort of ribbed a little bit, for lack of a better.
Yeah.
And it's shiny. I can't remember what the material's called.
There was like a mesh era too before it got like really stiff, because I feel like, and it could just be the age of like finding old hockey jersey fabrics, but like they're very, very stiff.
Yeah. I have some of those.
Yeah, there's good stuff. There's some good stuff out there.
There's this company, Ebbets Field, that does these like wool. They do like jerseys like from like they're made how they would have been in like the 40s. So they're like wool, and they have the felt patches. And my girlfriend got me one of those. It's pretty awesome. But then the moths got to it. So
oh no,
what are you gonna do?
R.I.P.
But I got it stitched up. But yeah, I still wear it.
Yeah, you could just be like, no, man, this is when I got into a fight with somebody, and he tended to have very sharp fingernails, which is where the holes are, and
Yeah.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for chatting. Before we wrap, though,
thank you.
Is there any stuff you want to add or mention or plug in the book or any of that?
Yeah, I think mostly the book, The Awesome Game. And, the one thing I stress sincerely, not just because I'm trying to sell books, but I wrote it for, as much as I wrote it for hockey fans who I think will enjoy it, I wrote it for people that don't care at all about sports or hockey. And I think it's enjoyable to read for I think you can enjoy it without having any interest in hockey. I tried to do that.
Well,
hopefully I succeeded.
Well, yeah, I mean, to kind of jump on that for a moment, I think that's what makes a sports book like have legs, I mean, like take, for example, the extreme, I'm not like trying to hate on Bill Simmons, but the Bill Simmons book of basketball is like half of that. Like if that book was cut in half and it was just about how David Stern cleaned up the NBA and where the sports have evolved, and less about statistics and the argument of, the 5-point line or 3-point line and all this other stuff, like the history of that, but more the history made it fun. But I think there's a lot of sports books that are so focused on the internal politics of it versus like just the joy of the game. And I think like that's what really gives a book legs and stuff in the long run, is like, I just want to vicariously live through Dave about the NHL and hockey in general. Like that sounds more exciting. So, I mean, I'm amped.
Oh, yeah, that's what I tried to do. I mean, I was thinking, not that I read John McEnroe's book, and I thought it was going to be full of all the kind of stuff you want to hear from him, but it was like really about tennis and stats and like getting into he talked about the matches, and it's like, I want to hear about who was yeah, you want to hear all the other stuff, and he didn't. There's very light on that stuff, and I was like,
maybe that's his like fourth or fifth book when he stops, doing any sort of other commentating. It's like the real truth. My pumps weren't working, and Agassi was being a little bitch, and and or some sort of.
Yeah, that's what you want to hear.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
If I can. I don't think this is years ago. I was flying. I think I was coming back to New York, and I was at baggage, and this like young woman, like 20 years old or something, like bumped into me, and I was like, what? Like, and didn't say anything, and kind of kept walking. I was like, I was annoyed, but not a big deal, obviously. And then, when they have like the bags that oversize, whatever, they have like the bag graveyard in the corner. So I went over there, and my bag was over there. And then I'm like looking for my bag, and someone bumps into me again. And I look, and it's the same woman. I was like, how did this woman manage to bump into me twice? Like in two totally different areas. Like, and then, so neither one of us can find her bag. And we go over to the baggage counter, and she's ahead of me in the thing, and she starts yelling. She's like yelling at the woman, like being like, I need my stuff's in there, and like, where is it? And she's going off, and then she's like, okay, and there's this guy standing next to her, and he's got a baseball hat on, and she's yelling, and I can't believe how loud she's yelling, and in this whole scene, and then the woman's like, okay, let's start over. What's the name? And the guy walks forward and he's like, McEnroe. And I was like, what? And then I look and it's John McEnroe and this is his daughter. And then I just started laughing my ass off because I was like, oh my God, she's just doing what you did. Like when you were her age, she's yelling and is out of control. And I just thought it was so fun. And I was trying to like make eye contact with him and be like, look what you did.
look at your spawn, Mr. McEnroe. You've enabled and embodied like anger throughout your genetic lineage here. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And, you know, I wouldn't tell this, like, because it wasn't like the girl was awful. Like, I'm sure she's a wonderful person. It was just funny to me.
It sucks to lose your baggage. I understand.
Yeah. So and I've certainly gotten mad at people at the airport before, but it was just so funny to me to be like, all of a sudden I wasn't mad that she had annoyed me. I just was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That's awesome. Well, Dave, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
See ya. All right, that's it for today's show. You've been listening to Blammo. Our show is produced by Blammo Media. We're edited by Amar Lal. Our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You know what, though? I might get some new theme music. I don't know. Sometimes I'm burnt out. I don't know. But if you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars on Spotify. Give us 50 stars on Dingledop or whatever it is you're listening to the podcast on. You can follow us on Instagram for all the hot content at Blammo Podcast. If you want to talk to us, give us your hot take. We'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at info@blammopod.com. Last but not least, you feeling lonely? You want to listen to more podcasts? You're like, I need more Blammo. Come on over to the Blam Fam. It is Blam. I don't even know what the website is. Yeah, it's patreon.com/Blammo. We have tons and tons of exclusive episodes. We have Blammo Presents Dye Workwear. We got the Triple J Show. It's all the talk you can handle. And we got the amazing Blammo Slack group. So, I don't know. Check it out. It's amazing. Yeah, it costs money, but, it costs money to live. So we're figuring it all out. So check it out. That's it. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys soon.